It's Platt, and today we head to France. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. So the particular beer we have today is Kronnenbourg 1664. Comes to us from the fine folks of Kronnenbourg Brewing. They were originally founded in Strasbourg, France. Today the company is owned kind of a split mode between Carlsberg and Heineken. Heineken has the UK rights to Kronnenbourg. Now the history of the brewery actually predates 1664. Actually, in 1649, a gentleman named Jeronimus Hatt received his master brewing certificate and thus started an illustrious career in the brewing industry. Eventually, like all brewers, you eventually kind of want to do your own thing, and in 1664, that's when he opened Brasserie du Canon, hopefully I said that right, in Strasbourg. Later became known as Hatt Brewing, but that was the original name. And it stayed in Strasbourg for the next almost 200 years. Eventually what was happening, apparently the brewery was put in a floodplain or something like that, and they just kept getting flooded and decided, well, we've got to move. So they moved the brewery to Kronnenbourg. Now a few years later, in 1885, they made another big decision for the brewery. They started using something that's called Strasselsplat hops. Hopefully I got that one right. It is a hop indigenous to the Alsace region of France, thus kind of making the beer itself a little more French, a little more unique to that region, and they still use those same hops today. So again, something that kind of really differentiates them from, let's say, a brewery that uses German hops and French grain and Spanish, again, kind of make it unique to their area. The brewery itself changed names in 1922. They went from Hatt Brewing to Tigre Brock. Now they kept that name, excuse me, all the way through to the end of World War II. After World War II, they switched the name to Kronnenbourg Brewing after everything kind of got settled out. A few years later, 1952 was a big year for the brewery because it was the year they came out with 1664, their flagship beer. This was kind of an homage to Jeronimus Hatt and the founding of the brewery all the way back in 1664. Now it was a little bit of fortuitous timing because they got the beer out in time and was able to export it to England in time in 1952 to celebrate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth. This was a huge event, and I think recently they just celebrated the 80th anniversary for coronation or something like that. And thus is a really great platform to launch the beer in the English market, which was a huge beer market. As far as modern times go, in 2001, the brewery was bought by Scottish and Newcastle. They held on until 2008 when they were eventually bought out, like I said, between Carlsberg and Heineken, because of certain jurisdictional requirements and monopoly laws and stuff like that. Heineken has the rights in England and Carlsberg pretty much everywhere else. I believe they both, to some extent, brew some of the Kronnenbourg. There's still a Kronnenbourg brewery producing most of it, but I think they contract some of it out between some of their other breweries. So there's multiple Kronnenbourg beers kind of being brewed out there. Real quick, I want to talk about some of their other beers. Kronnenbourg does produce a full line of beers, but their main product is really focused on 1664 and the variations on the 1664 beer. So we'll talk about those. First is 1664 Blanc. This is a 5% ABV wheat beer or wit beer, however you want to call it. Between the really nice white foamy head and kind of the haze, the name Blanc just kind of makes sense. Next is 1664 Bière de Noël. This is a 5.5% ABV. This is a farmhouse ale. With the Alsace region's proximity to Belgium and just Belgium in general influencing a lot of brewing in the region, a farmhouse ale just kind of makes sense. Next we have 1664 Gold. This is a 6.1% ABV lager, pale lager. When you get a lager like this up over like 6% ABV and you're not just adding adjuncts, you're really pumping in a lot more barley into that. You'll start to get like a darker golden color than like the light straw colors of your light beer types or whatever. So again, the name 1664 Gold makes a lot of sense. Finally, there is 1664 Fruit Rogers. This is a 4.5% ABV wheat beer that is flavored with red fruits like raspberry. So, you know, Rogers, you know, on the name definitely makes sense. Depending on the website you see, some people will call this wheat beer, some people call it fruit beer. I just hope it's delicious. So, with that being said, before we try this particular beer though, let's check out the stats. So today, still summertime out there, so I want to talk to you about vacations. I recently talked about Vegas vacations. Today I want to talk to you about beer vacations. That's right, perfect time to take a vacation, and why not make it a beer vacation? You can actually, of course, go to hot spots like San Diego, Portland, Seattle, what have you. But today I'm going to give you 3 kind of hidden gem beer hot spots to take your beer vacation. First is Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine is quite a craft brewery hotspot. They have breweries like Allagash and Lone Pine. But one of the things they do up there, and I've researched a little bit on, is these guided bus tours of different breweries. Just in the research I found, the people that run these tours seem to really know what they're doing. They really know their beer. Also, these buses have been retrofitted, real kind of cool vibe to them. And again, if you're going on a brewery tour, let someone else do the driving. So it just kind of makes sense. Next is Burlington, Vermont. Notably, Vermont has more craft breweries per capita than any other state. Small state, but again, they have a lot of breweries for their size. And in the heat of the summer, Vermont sounds actually pretty inviting. Lastly, Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S., but they got a nice little craft beer scene down there with Jester King, Hop and Grain, several other breweries. If you go west of town, out in the hill country, they actually have a growing wine industry. Several award-winning vineyards, some really nice wineries out there. And of course, Austin's also known for live music. So, you know, hit a couple of breweries, hit a couple of vineyards, listen to some live music. Sounds like a pretty good vacation to me. So check out those spots, you know, if you're looking for somewhere to go on vacation. Well, I'm not going on vacation, but I'm going to drink this beer. All right. Nice lighter golden color, plenty of creamy white head. Get a little malt, slight bit of hops. Kind of got that green bottle font to it. Kind of classic of European lagers. Let's give her a try. It's just a nice, straightforward, clean lager. I do get a little hops on the back. It's not crisp, you know, crisp hop like a Pilsner. But this beer is just not, you know, liquid malt. There's some balance to it. I'm going to say the body is medium minus, which is actually probably more than a lot of your generic lagers, but not much, just a shade more body. Just a nice, refreshing beer. This has a clean enough finish that I think you could pair it with a lot of different foods. That being said, I don't know if it's necessarily unique or has anything particularly unique. I would, if I was though in Europe and I'm going to go with a green bottled lager, I would take this over like a Heineken or maybe, you know, Carlsberg, some of those kind of generic green bottle lagers. I would go with a Pilsner instead, but if I was in that green bottle pale lager European thing, I would, like I said, I would pick this over like a Heineken or Carlsberg or something like that. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know I'm putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.